Hey everybody, long time no see. I'm sure many of you figured it out at the end of the last episode, but this episode is going to be all about Mega Man 2. As the title states, this is the second Mega Man game for the Game Boy. Mega Man 2 is where the NES games really hit their stride, but Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy doesn't seem to follow in its big brother's footsteps. That's not to say that it's a bad game, it's just not the best in the Game Boy series. One of the first things I always notice in a game is the music. This is the first game in the series to have all original music. I know I said in my other review that having good music was a foregone conclusion in a Mega Man game, but apparently I was wrong. This game's music sounds harsh and has none of the charm that most Mega Man soundtracks have. I found it to be very disappointing compared to the previous game. That being said, the overall control of this game is still very good. Mega Man now has the ability to slide, and Rush is available in 3 different forms. There's still no charge shot, but since the game's not designed with it in mind, you never really feel like it's missing. The levels have gotten a little bit shorter, but they have more activity in them rather than just static backgrounds, and there are bigger mid-bosses in the stages compared to the previous game. Plus, there are more levels, which I'll get into in a second. Following the Game Boy formula, this game includes 4 Robot Masters for Mega Man 2 and 4 Robot Masters for Mega Man 3. Just like the last game, you can only fight 4 of them from the start. They are Metal Man, Wood Man, Airman, and the badly translated Clash Man, all from Mega Man 2. Once you defeat all 4 of them, you'll see a small cutscene of Mega Man going into Dr. Wily's fortress and then confronting Wily himself. Mega Man falls down a trapdoor, and we are once again in a room with 4 teleporters. Just like in the previous game, this is where you'll fight the next set of 4 Robot Masters. They are Hard Man, Magnet Man, Top Man, and Needle Man. Unlike the last game though, they each have their own level, bringing the level total to 8. Once you've beaten the second set of 4 Robot Masters, you'll have to fight one more. He's an original to this game named Quint, and he's the last thing between you and Dr. Wily. Quint has no level of his own, and he's by far the easiest of the Robot Masters to kill. He just bounces around on a pogo stick and you shoot him in the head. Once you beat him, it's off to Wily's Space Fortress. You'll have to fight your way past one more level before you get to Wily. It isn't really any harder than the others, so you'll get there in no time. Wily, as usual, has many forms during the final battle, but they all seem kinda puny in this game. There are 3 forms in the game, but even the largest one is kinda disappointing and easy. The first 2 forms are killed using just your buster, and all you do is shoot the dome on top. You may need to use some energy tanks, but I never needed them before this, so I had a bunch stored up. The third stage is also easy. You can either use the pogo stick you got from Quint, or just use the rush jet. Shoot the bubble until he's dead, and it's all over. I found this boss to be super underwhelming compared to the first game. Just look at the size and detail difference. In the first game, he was a proper, full-sized final boss. But in this game, he's not much bigger than the other bosses, and he's hardly even bigger than one of the dogs you fight in Woodman's stage. This is one of the very first levels in the game. It's really disappointing and anticlimactic. But it's not just the last boss that's easy. Overall, the game seems much easier than the previous one. The inclusion of energy tanks helps, but it just seems like you can get hit quite a bit and not die. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and for many people I'm sure it was a welcome change, but I think it's worth mentioning. Also, when fighting the last 4 Robot Masters, it refills your life after killing them, which makes them much easier than the previous game's survival-style boss run. I think a lot of the problems with this game can be attributed to its short development time. It seems likely that this game was made by a separate team from the first game. The reason I think this is the release dates. Mega Man Dr. Wily's Revenge came out in December of 1991. Mega Man 2 came out in either January or February of '92 according to different sources. So that means there was a 1 to 2 month gap between the first and second game. I don't think any team could have made and shipped this game in under 2 months. So it seems likely that another team worked on it, and they likely had less time than the original team to finish it. Small problems aside, this game is still a lot of fun. It may not be the best Mega Man game, but even a mediocre Mega Man is better than a lot of games out there. I'd recommend the first one over this one because it's more challenging and has much better music, but the gameplay is nearly identical in both, and you really can't go wrong with either one. If you're looking for an easier Mega Man that you can run through in a single day, then this will probably fit the bill. That's it for this episode. Sorry for the long wait between shows, and thanks as always for watching. Until next time, this is Ben, signing off.